Organized crime and gambling in the Northwest aren't exactly recent bedfellows. 3 Washington political figures were caught trying to give illegal gambling a foothold in that state. A federal grand jury indicted lobbyist Patrick Gallagher in the conspiracy more than a year ago. The charges also snared John Bagnariel, the former Washington co-speaker of the House, and State Senate Majority Leader Gordon Walgren. All 3 were ultimately convicted. Oregon doesn't have the history of corruption, nor the size of the gambling industry that Washington does, but according to experts on organized crime, this state is growing up.
And we automatically assume, particularly with the dog racing, horse racing, that you're going to have organized crime activities here in terms of gambling, which
you're going to have a potential for it. You're going to have a potential for corruption in any legitimate gambling that you have. Unless Oregon is very different than the rest of the United States, and I hope it is, it may be that you haven't seen it because you haven't looked for it.
Blakey says state lotteries and bingo here may or may not already be corrupt, but he says they will create a climate that invites corruption. Speaking specifically of bingo as it now exists in Oregon, Portland police take the warning a step further.
Well, we're talking about houses that are run like casinos that will then be controlled by people who have a lot of governmental influence or who attempt to get a lot of governmental influence. And that's typically what happens in gambling, is that in order to protect my interest, if I'm running a house, I'm going to put pressure on other people to get what I want. And money is pressure, and that's the kind of money that's used either politically or power that's used to control other things. You have constant illicit and illegal influences on government and other agencies.
Do you think any of that's going on yet?
Sure.
Already, politicians have some vastly differing viewpoints on what to do with the growing business of bingo. This year's Oregon legislature has 2 bills, one in the House and one in the Senate, which would each change the law regarding bingo. One would make it more loosely controlled than it already is. The other would severely restrict it. House Bill 2915 is sponsored by Representative Donna Zajonc. It would loosen the law on bingo, making it legal for bingo operators to pay their employees. No limits are mentioned. Representative Zajonc says the bill should help groups like the Salem Boys Club, which says it can't get people to run bingo without paying them.
We have had really very few problems reported on bingo. And actually, quite the contrary, it is doing a lot of good in providing revenues for a variety of programs. When we have local governments with the ability to watch these kinds of situations, when we have primarily nonprofits, organizations such as the Boys Club, I'm not the least bit concerned about organized crime.
But other legislators do see corruption in the bingo business.
I guess you have to ask yourself whether or not Oregon wants this kind of gambling operation or not, and I think that the vast number of Oregonians do not want this kind of thing, and that's why I've introduced Senate Bill 575.
That bill, if passed and then enforced, would eliminate many of the bingo for-profit games. It would limit bingo for any organization to 2 days a week and only 4 hours per day. A single prize couldn't exceed $750. And door prizes must be worth $200 or less. Small charities and churches like the bill, and so do the Portland police.
Well, the enforcement of that is fairly simple, because one of our operators, one of our people from Vice can sit in that game and watch exactly what goes on. They can watch the number of hours it runs, the number of days a week it runs, and what the payouts are. And those are simple, straightforward facts that are relatively simple to monitor.
Some bingo operators, on the other hand, don't like what the bill would do to them.
Just chase it across the river. You wouldn't have nothing to offer. Over here, if they restrict everything down to what they want to do, it's not what the people want to play.
Could you afford to keep running?
No way. You can't maintain a building this size on 2 5-hour sessions. It's just impossible. And offer any kind of a prize. There's no way to do it.
As the bill is written, it would just almost totally eliminate Albertina Kerr, our agency's participation in bingo.
And what impact would that have on your programs?
It would be immediate. It would force immediate reduction in programs. And possible elimination of some programs. Certainly would have an impact on Kerr Center. for the handicapped children.
Senate Bill 575 is before the Justice Committee this week. Bingo operators from around the state came to object to it. Many charities who operate their own bingo games supported it. Some die-hard bingo players didn't want their games cut back at any cost.
I figure if I lose, I'm contributing to a good cause.
I would like to request that the people of the state of Oregon, wherever bingo games are played, would send notification of their dissatisfaction of the particular game in their community to the Justice Committee, the Oregon State Senate, Salem, Oregon.
Senator Jernstedt may get his disgruntled bingo players. Senator Monroe may get his bill passed, or maybe not. But until something happens, there is a lot of tax-free money being made.